Alright, I'm going to show you how to tune your snare drum. I will be as thorough as I can while also trying to do this quickly for you. What you're going to want to do first is you're going to want to do the bottom head of your snare drum. You can loosen your snare wires so that they're extra loose. Put something underneath it and then tap around and see which ones need to be tightened. But that's not necessary. You can just do it with leaving your snares on. I will grab a drum key. So what you're going to do, this is with tops and bottoms. There's going to be a pattern. It's going to be a star pattern, and you're going to follow that always. But on snares specifically, you want to make sure that your resonant head, the bottom side, your snare side head, is going to be, they call it tabletop tight. So pretty darn tight. Of course, if you over tighten it, it will pop or crack, so you don't want to do that, but you still want it to be as tight as possible, because the tighter this is, the more crack you're going to get from your snare wires. Pick a lug, tighten it. This is where the star pattern comes in, okay? Tighten that to where you feel it's good, then go over directly across. Tighten that to where you think it's good. Go to the next one, like this. All right? Always the one directly across from. And while you're doing it, you're gonna want to tap to make sure that they're somewhat close. Okay? And as you go around, tightening a little bit or loosening a little bit, depending on what you need, you want to make sure that the one directly across from it sounds very, very similar, okay? That is not the most important, but that will give you more snare sound, and that will get you more pop and crack from the actual snare drum. So you're playing an acoustic instrument, everyone else is playing amplified, obviously, so you need to make sure that you're keeping up, and that your snare can cut through the mix, and that is how you're going to do it, is a tight and evenly tuned bottom snare drum head. I'll go to the top. I always put my throw off on my left side, right by my leg, in case something goes on. I know exactly where I can go to, if it pops off mid-song, I don't have to stop using my right hand to flip it back on. But what I do is the same on this side. I turn the snare wires off when I'm doing the top, okay? And you pick a lug. Okay, this one seems to be a little bit higher than this side. Close enough for punk rock, right? Next one. Close. Close. Oops. I'm actually going to tighten this one a tad. Oh, that one's really low. Did you hear that? So I'm going to tighten this one. Slightly low. Again, across, directly across. Better, right? So star pattern. Pick any lug anywhere. Tighten that one. Tighten the one directly across from it. Go to the next. Directly across. Here, 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 here. Double check to make sure that they're all somewhere close to the same note. They don't have to be perfect. This is rock and roll, right? Turn your snare wires back on. And it sounds all right. Something that I would really highly recommend. These are called lug locks. You can get them on Amazon. They're universal. All they are is a formed piece of plastic. You put it on the lug, and it will make sure that it will stay in tune. Sometimes you really got to force them on there, but I put 3 of them right where my left hand hits. So in punk rock or metal, you're going to be doing a whole lot of rim shots, right? It's not just going to be this. There's going to be a whole lot of this. And when you're doing that, these 3 lugs where you're doing your rim shots, those are going to detune faster than the rest of these. So if you want to make sure that these stay in tune, go on Amazon, spend $20, get lug locks. This is what they look like. And put them where you are going to be doing your rim shots. And therefore, you can play a few shows and you don't have to worry about these 3 going out of tune. If these do start to get a little bit flat on this other side, right? If these start to come out of tune, these will still be in tune. So if it's between songs or before the set, you can do a really quick check. Just, again, turn this off. And you know, since this has a lug lock on it, that that's going to stay the same. So you can just compare. And if before you start the set, you notice that these are still higher because they have the lug locks, then it's going to cut a whole shit ton of time off of tuning the whole thing, and you're only going to have to tune the other side. So, again, the most important thing, your bottom snare drum head needs to be tight, almost to the point of popping. The tighter it is, the more snare wire response you're going to have, and the more crack and pop you're going to have out of your snare drum. The top one, you can tune it however the fuck you want. Some like it really low. I like my snares tuned up pretty high. But the most important part is pick, if it sounds good, tune it across, right? So just fucking pick any lug. If you start here, here. Tap to make sure it sounds good. Then do the same all the way around. It's the star pattern. It's really, really important. You tune these, the ones across from each other at the same time. And that should be good to go. Keep in mind, it's going to take a long time for you to figure out how you want your drum set to sound. And also, it's going to be different for every drum that you own. So just because I tune this snare drum this way doesn't mean that I would tune any of my other snare drums that way. That's just how I like this one to sound. The process is still the same. You're still going to do everything I taught you, but it might be slightly different tuning-wise, depending on the snare. I like metal snares. They're loud as fuck. They cut through a punk rock band, and I like them tuned up high so that I have an even better chance of the crowd hearing my snare drum. If you have a wood snare drum, which I believe the one you're playing is wood, then you might not need to crank it quite as high. You kind of want to hear or feel that wood snare. So again, they're all going to be different. Most important part is the star pattern. All right? Back and forth like that. And checking in between to make sure that the entire drum is somewhat close. Every lug is somewhat close in tuning. Also, you should be able to feel it, right? So I can feel, if I change something over here, I can feel the resistance. It should be the same on the one across. You should be able to feel the same amount of resistance on your drum key. So I hope that helps.